Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Listen, I'm glad to have you guys here. Now, today is September 17th, 2019, and let's get started. Let's open up the charts right here and take a look. Now, this headline from Zero Hedge: if truckers stopped working, grocery stores would run out of food in just 3 days. Well, I thought it would be about 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, but that's just splitting hairs. Maybe it would be 3 days. I don't know, depending on the panic and how people went in and cleaned the stores out once they knew the trucks weren't running. Here's the thing about all this. What's going on right now with the situation with oil? If it were to break out into something much larger and it were to cut off the oil supply, truckers need oil. Trucks need oil in order to run. But, that wouldn't stop the trucks. Because America has oil reserves, oil and gas reserves that they could use as emergency supplies to keep the trucks running. So, what would stop the trucks? Because I'm going to tell you, we would be in one heck of a bad situation if the trucks stopped. What could, and actually would, stop the trucks from running would be what's called a credit freeze, where the banks across the world basically lock up. And why a credit freeze would stop the trucks from running rather than an oil shortage? An oil shortage, they have oil and gas reserves put away that they could use in emergency to run the trucks. But why a credit freeze would stop the trucks from running is simply the fact that all of these trucking companies, most all of them, have a direct connection with the banking system that they use every day to buy their fuel with, to make payroll. And as soon as that bank connection is cut off and credit stops flowing, what would happen is these businesses that are directly connected to the banks, like the trucking firms, would just have to stop running until the problem's fixed. Now, if a big bank like Deutsche Bank were to go down, right, and its monster derivatives book go down, it could cause, quite literally, a credit freeze. How long would that credit freeze last depends on how long they could go in and solve the banking crisis by injecting liquidity into the banking system. And don't think they will. Don't think they won't, I should say. They will. And they'll do it fast. It would require massive amounts of liquidity to free up the banking system again, to make the banking system work. And during that period in time, well, we would have this crisis where the trucks would stop running and the grocery stores could go empty in 3 days during a credit freeze from the banks. And this is why I've been preparing people on my channel by telling them to fill a closet. Pick a closet. Most people have a closet where it's full of junk right now. It's full of old tennis rackets and tennis balls and toys and stuff you don't need and stuff you should give out to charity anyway. It's stacked to the ceiling. You open the door, everything falls out. You know the closet I'm talking about. Clean it out and put your emergency supplies in there. Bottled water, canned food, stuff you'll need like toilet paper and stuff like that. And, I'm going to tell you, we had a hurricane here about a couple weeks ago, or a week ago or so. And here's the thing. I went to my local grocery store, and I was just about out of water to get a little bit of water, a few jugs of water, where I always go, Shelves cleaned right out. Bingo, gone. I went to get some emergency batteries, and they were difficult to get. The sales lady said, well, we're all cleared out of D-size batteries, flashlight batteries. They're gone. You can't have any of those. I had to buy a flashlight that takes AA batteries. So this is what can happen. This is just a little taste I had just a little taste, with the power out for over 20 hours, and I was one of the lucky ones that got on early. There's ones that are still just getting their power now. So these kind of situations, can happen. They can come from nowhere, and you should have that closet anyway, even if it's not a financial crisis. It could be some other sort of crisis. It could be a some sort of an earthquake, or it could be floods, or stuff like that. Just any sort of a problem that can come along real fast that you never saw coming. You know. So let's move on with the markets today, and let's first take a look at gold. See what gold's doing. Gold is found itself in a very tight little trading range, and the same with silver. Gold is running at 15.0150 today. It's up $2.60 on the day. But look at this trading range. This trading range is right at $1,500 as the center of this trading range, and it's not deviating more than $10 to the downside or the upside in this new little trading range it's established for itself. And so is silver. Look at the tight little narrow trading range. Silver's just basically going along sideways this morning. $17.82 bid, $17.92 asked for silver. Let's move on to cryptocurrency, and we're finding it's doing exactly the same thing. It's been staying in around 266 to 267 billion now for days, and moving along in a very little narrow trading range. Bitcoin dominance is 68.8%. I would say that these three markets, gold, silver, and Bitcoin, are all waiting. They're waiting right now. And you say, well, what are they waiting for? They are waiting to see what's going to happen with this world situation, whether it's going to escalate or de-escalate. That's what they're waiting for. Now let's take a look at the Dow Jones today. And the Dow Jones is waiting to see what the Fed's going to do right now. And look, actually, this is not the Dow. This is the oil chart right here. Oil is down 75 cents so far today. It's 1.19% down. It's at $62.15. That's because of this little spike right here where it went up to, and now it's come back down into this little range right here. But the price is not falling off. Oil's waiting to see what happens too, sort of. The markets it's a little bit of a period of waiting game right now to see if these situations are going to escalate or things are going to. And also, take a look at the Dow today. Down 57 points. Let me refresh the page because the Dow can move so fast. 55 points down, okay? The Dow wants a probably 50 basis point rate cut. They'd even be better, more happy with a 100 basis point rate cut. What they're probably going to get, they're probably going to get like a 25 basis point cut, but it's not going to, I don't think it's going to satisfy them. It's funny times when a rate cutting the rates will not satisfy the markets. Markets are totally dependent now on what the Fed's doing, on Fed stimulus. And if that stimulus stops for whatever reason, we're going to see a massive decline in the markets. Let's take a look at U.S. Treasuries now at this point. And we're looking at the short. Yields are not moving a whole lot today yet. We're seeing a little bit of downward pressure. About 1 or 2 basis points, 1.4 basis points on the 30-year, and looks like the 10-year is down 1.2 basis points. There's a couple, the U.S. 1-year and the U.S. 3-month is actually rising ever so slightly. Yields are on those two, but everything else is falling. I just get this feeling about this market right here, right now. Especially on the long end of the yield curve, we could see these yields rise over the upcoming weeks, and we could see them rise rather quickly. It depends on you got to find a greater sucker What I mean by that is for these bond yields, these people bought in at extremely low yields. And they need to find a bigger sucker who's going to buy in at even lower yields to make it profitable for them. I don't know whether you'd call that the greater sucker theory or but you need to find somebody who's more stupid than you that's going to buy them even cheaper. And when we get down into negative yields, who's going to buy that junk? I mean, you're paying money. You're paying money out to lend your money to somebody else. And it's the craziest thing in the world. I could see this all exploding and just basically the whole bond yield, the whole thing, the whole U.S. Treasury market yields rising precipitously because this is just foolishness. How long can you continue with foolishness in markets that are manipulated beyond belief before the whole thing just cracks apart? That's what I want to know. Let's take a look now at the U.S. dollar index, and we're seeing 98.54, and it is settling back down again. We could see gold this afternoon and silver rise a little bit because the U.S. dollar index basically sliding downwards a little bit today. Generally, when you see the dollar index, dollar goes down, gold goes up. Generally that's normal market action. We've had a few cases recently here where it's been the opposite of that, where dollars went up and golds went up at the same time, or the dollars went up and gold's unchanged or whatever. It's just unusual market movements we've had lately in the relationship between the U.S. dollar and gold. I've said this for a long time. I'm going to say it again, that when the real crisis starts and investors start to get really, really frightened, they are going to run into the dollar, and they're going to run into gold, and they're going to run into silver. They're going to run into those three assets. I don't know at this particular time what they're going to do with cryptocurrencies. They very well could dump it, which would create a terrific buying opportunity, because at a certain point in this crisis, they're going to start to panic about the purchasing power of their fiat currencies. And the reason why is because as this crisis intensifies, the reaction from the world central banks is going to be to print massively. And when they start to do that, then they're going to start running out of the dollar, where they first ran into. So the first reaction when things get really bad is they're going to run into dollar, gold, and silver. Later reaction is they're going to keep the gold and silver. They're going to buy more, and they're going to start dumping the dollar. And when they do that, that's when cryptocurrencies will catch a bid for sure. And if they dump cryptocurrencies, which they could, then it would create a terrific buying opportunity to buy into the cryptocurrencies. And then when they dump the dollar, the cryptocurrencies will take a moonshot at that particular time. So that could create in our future some sort of a buying opportunity, especially if they dump crypto. Listen, thank you guys for listening to this report. Give me a thumbs up, and we'll catch you guys in the very next show. Bye-bye, guys.